Hello, everybody, and welcome into this week's 30 Minutes program. We're going to be talking about agriculture, a little different kind of agriculture, but agriculture, and it's called no-till crop production. And I've got the guy in the room with us today. This fella's a really, really smart fella. His name is Jason S. Williams. He's the Interim Director of the University of Tennessee Ag Research and Education Center at Milan. And what does all of this mean?
So the name changed back several years ago. We were created in the 1960s as a field station for row crop agriculture in West Tennessee. And we only deal with the major row crops, corn, cotton, soybeans, and wheat. We don't have any livestock on the center. But several years ago, we changed the name to the long title, Ag Research and Education Center at Milan, because we felt like, and the university felt like, that our mission was more than just looking at crops in the field, but to educate people about what was going on in the field and how agriculture has changed and how that agricultural producers are really trying to sustain ag production, sustain our environment, and protect the resources that God's given us to use. When you think about the whole world, how much of the world is water?
Most of it,
75%. But when you start breaking that down and you look at, well, some of it's frozen. You can't grow water in the north and south. You can't grow food in the north and south poles. Some of it's desert. And we can't really grow a crop in the desert. We got to have roads to drive on and buildings to go to, and we got to go to Walmart, right? So that only leaves us a small portion of the earth to grow all the food and fiber that we need, and we don't actually use all of it. We only use the top 6 inches, called the topsoil. The problem with that is in the 1940s, 50s, early 60s, West Tennessee had some of the highest rates of soil erosion in the nation. We were losing 30 to 40 tons of topsoil per acre per year. Most of our soil in West Tennessee is borrowed anyways. It was wind blown. It's called loess, and it erodes very easily, especially with the heavy rains that we have. Most of it ends up in the Mississippi River and then down at the Gulf of America at New Orleans. And so Mr. Tom McCutcheon was our first superintendent at the Milan Experiment Station, and he thought, we can't keep doing this if we're going to sustain ourselves. And so he put together a group of scientists from the university, ag engineers, agronomists, entomologists, and said, we've got to come up with a better way to do this. And so Mr. Tom was given the title as the father of no-till in Tennessee. And no-till is just simply a means by which we don't disturb the soil. Traditionally, we use a disc, a moldboard plow, a chisel plow. We use a do-wall, some kind of tillage implements, and we make several passes over the field before we actually plant a seed, and we've disturbed that soil. When it rains, it causes ditches or gullies or reels, we call them, and they wash out of the field. With the advent of no-till, we only make a small incision in the soil with a coulter in front of the planter. A double disc opener then opens that slice and drops the seed directly into the soil. And then it's closed by the closing wheels in the back. So we've disturbed the soil very minimally, if at all. And we cut that rate of soil loss from 30 to 40 tons per acre down to less than half a ton per acre per year. And so a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if you visit our center, we have the West Tennessee Agricultural Museum as well. And that was the brainchild of Mr. Tom as well, to sort of help preserve the heritage of West Tennessee as far as agriculture goes. Mr. Tom had several barns full of antique collectibles, tractors, tools, all kinds of things. And the people of Milan got together and said, we need a place so that other people can enjoy and see these things. But when you first walk into the museum and you take a right and go around the right-hand side, there's a display that tells sort of the history of no-till, where we were. And there's one picture that stands out if you look up on the wall. It's a picture from our rainfall simulator, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But it shows water coming off of a slope. On one side of the picture, looks like you turned the faucet on. It's clear. You look at the other side, and it's brown and muddy and nasty. That's from a conventionally tilled plot. And we collected that runoff in the soil sediment, and actually the soil loss equation was verified in Milan on these rainfall simulator plots that we had there. But that picture sort of tells the story of no-till, and you can tell as you drive around the fields in West Tennessee after a big rain and you see runoff from the field. If it's clear, it's no-till. If it's brown, it's probably conventional till. So that process started in the 1960s. The problem with that, we really didn't have the technology to do that, and producers didn't know how to no-till. Matter of fact, when I first started my career back a long time ago, 30 years ago, and in some of the first field days, producers would say, well, that's just ugly. We can't do that. We've never done it that way. And that was some of the drawbacks to introducing no-till to our producers in the state, was that we've never done it that way. My daddy didn't do it that way, neither did my granddaddy. And so the adaptation rate was a little slow at the beginning, one, because it didn't look right, and we've never done it that way. But with research and education that goes on at the university, and with field days like the one we're having in July, we got the message out. Our extension agents took it out to the producers on their field and showed them how to do it. Mr. Tom put together that group, and they developed technology that could actually go into the field. We had a hard time making that transition, but I'm proud to say, if you look at the latest statistics across the state of the major crops, corn, cotton, soybeans, and wheat, we're about a 90% adoption rate across the state with no-till. And so the latest buzzword is sustainable agriculture or climate smart agriculture. And everybody thinks, well, that's a new term, but we've been doing that since the 1960s. So we're real proud of that. And so thus the reason for the long name. I told a long story to get to the point, but we changed our name to the Tennessee Ag Research and Education Center at Milan, not just the Milan Field Station.
But we all know it as where no-till crop is. And that, with that museum, thousands, and I believe that would be accurate, we probably had thousands of people to come to that museum and to be able to understand what was taking place in Tennessee.
That's exactly right. Every year we do have thousands of visitors. Ben is our museum guide, and you can take a personal tour, or you can walk through at your leisure. We've got QR codes on our displays that tell the story of early settlers as they moved into the western part of the state. There's a nice display. If you've never been in there, there's a really nice display that simulates how we got across the state through our river system. We're blessed with a lot of water in West Tennessee.
Maybe too much sometimes. Actually. Yeah, we've had our unfair share here recently, but we asked for it, and he gave it to us.
That's right.
If you've just joined us here on our program, we have Jason Williams. He is the Interim Director of the University of Tennessee Ag Research and Education Center in Milan. By the way, what do you really do? I mean, what does that mean?
What we really do, we're fortunate in the state. We have 10 centers across the state, and each center is located in a specific area and has a specific function. For example, we look at things in beef cattle. We've got one center that's specifically designed to do beef cattle research. Here in West Tennessee, we're fortunate. We actually have 3 centers: the Milan Center, the Jackson, West Tennessee Ag Research and Education Center, and then there's a center at Ames. And each one of us has a little different idea. Our focus is on no-till production in the major crops, but we look at all aspects of agronomy. We don't have any animals there on the station. We only focus on row crops, but we're looking at varieties, soybean varieties. We're looking at different corn hybrids. We're looking at different systems. We've got one experiment that's been going on now for about 24 years. And it's a crop rotation system where we have corn and soybeans and wheat. Those are the major crops that are grown in the season. And then in the off season, we plant 5 different cover crops, and we've included a chicken litter treatment on there because Tyson is in our area now, and we're looking at chicken litter. And we've looked at every rotation you can possibly imagine: corn behind corn, soybeans behind soybeans, corn behind cotton, cotton behind corn. Whatever you can think of, we've looked at in that particular field.
You have had the distinction of being able to go to college. That's a big deal sometimes, because sometimes daddy want son to drive that tractor. But dads finally realized how important it was for sons and daughters to be a part of what's going on in agriculture. And that's where the University of Tennessee at Martin came in to you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I graduated from Milan in 1989 and then immediately came to UT Martin. I mean, because of my background, I actually, believe it or not, I actually started off in political science pre-law and realized real quick that my passion was not that there's anything wrong with it, but my passion wasn't inside of a library or reading a book, but it was actually outside, working with the soil, working with different people.
Who are some of your educators?
Dr. Bob Hathcock, and he's going to be at Milan this year with the beekeeping. Dr. Duck was at Martin when I was here. Dr. Rodney Thompson was here when I was here. Those guys were really, really, really good. Oh, those guys were really, really good. Doc Robinson was a longtime educator at Martin and actually came back and taught animal science. Dr. Jerry Gresham was another one, and I could list off several more. Mr. Counts was our soils teacher, and a funny story about Mr. Counts. Every test had the soil profiles, and if you had Mr. Counts as a professor, every test included the soil profiles, and every test would include more soil profiles. And his favorite saying was this: "Now, boys, we've been playing schools that are a little less than what Tennessee is. But now this week, if you had to say, we're going to play a school like the University of Alabama, this test is going to be hard. And Mr. Counts has bought some new red pens, and I'll bleed all over your test paper." And he would.
That's one of the things that we don't know whether we need to go into one direction or a different direction. If you were to tell a student coming out of high school who has been on the farm all his life, male or female, what would you tell them to go in to agriculture and to be a star for what purpose?
That's a very good question. And we have groups of students that come through regularly. The wonderful thing about the agricultural industry is it's wide open and it needs young, brilliant minds to sustain it. And everybody always thinks, well, if you're involved in agriculture, then you're just going to be in a barn with a beef cow, or you're going to be on a tractor.
Not so. Not
so anymore. We're moving into areas of precision agriculture, and that seems to be the area in which agriculture has exploded. Since 1996, when the military and the government released the GPS GIS system, where we could have access to satellites to get our exact location. Unlike the GPS and address system that you have on your phone, that it'll probably get you to the driveway or somewhere and you can recognize the building. The systems that we're running on our equipment now are pinpoint accurate. We can get down to the centimeter. We're that accurate. And so to answer the question about what direction I would tell a young student or a new student or a student that's just getting out of school, let's pursue an area in precision agriculture. I mean, at this particular field day, we're having a demonstration with aerial unmanned drones. We're going to be flying, and it's actually we're going to be spraying water for the demonstration purpose, but we're flying on herbicides over crops with an unmanned aircraft. We're also going to have a manned aircraft to show that there's need for both. But the area of engineering in agriculture, the area of computer science in agriculture, but we still need basic agronomists, people that actually know, what is this weed? What's wrong with my crop? Why does my crop look yellow? So we need people to be in the nutrition part of it. We need people in the pathology department. But that's why I think that the agricultural field is so wide open for young people to find a place and to really take off.
You know, the agriculture, we've covered this a little bit, but drones are old fashioned now. I don't know what's going to be next because they've been up there for quite a while now, helping farmers to know exactly where their line, not only where their line is, but what's on the ground. I mean, there may be deer, they may be hogs. I mean, it could be anywhere. And those things have been a big help to farmers.
Absolutely. And we're using them with infrared technology where we can actually look at a spectrum that the human eye can't look at and detect nutrient deficiencies before they show up really in the field. We can look at disease problems that show up with remote sensing. It'll send a signal back to a computer in the office, and we can develop a prescription for that field specifically. And then we can specifically apply the right treatment for that area. Mm-hmm. There's a new sprayer that's come on the market in the last few years. It's called the See and Spray. And it's actually got cameras on the front of the sprayer. Now, this is running at field speed. So the sprayer has cameras on the front of it. It goes through a microprocessor on board the sprayer, turns the nozzle on for that specific, if it's spraying weeds, it'll locate a weed, send a signal, process it, and draw from the tank in which it needs to be. If it's a broadleaf weed, it'll draw from that tank. If it's a grass, it'll draw from that tank, and that nozzle will turn on specifically. So we're not spraying 80 foot or 120 foot. We're spraying with 2 nozzles or 1 nozzle. So when I say specific, we're getting down to the specifics.
Let me go through another part of agriculture. Number one, the cost of equipment. I mean, it doesn't make any difference what your equipment is. It's very expensive nowadays. So much so that it has been very, very difficult for farmers who normally do one thing, and they turn it over maybe in 24 months, whatever that piece of equipment is. And that's one of the problems that agriculture has to fight at.
Absolutely. We've seen input costs go up dramatically.
I was getting ready to go right into that too. That's
not just equipment, but all input cost.
Let me give you a moment to talk about inputs and what they mean.
Okay. Our input costs are those things that we need to actually grow the crop, the seed, the fertilizer, the chemical. All those things have increased dramatically in price. While our yield has increased, the retail price, or the price the grower gets for the commodity that they grow, has stayed relatively the same in row crop agriculture. Dr. Thompson used to say row crop agriculture was the only field that you bought retail, sold wholesale, and paid the freight both ways. So that's something that we look at, and that's some of the things that we put into our research is how can we help growers cut input costs? So that at the end of the day, we're looking to help growers to stay in business because we all like to eat and we need our farmers. The sad thing about it is that the population in our ag community has shrunk, even within the state. I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago with the Commissioner of Agriculture, Andy Holt, and he gave the statistic. It used to be around 2% of our population was considered agriculture, whether it be ranching or in row crop agriculture. It's now down to less than 1% of the people in the state, at least in Tennessee, are directly involved in agriculture. However, agriculture is our number one industry in the state. Number 2 is tourism. Agriculture brings in 132, and I think I'm right on this, $132 billion a year to the state. Tourism brings in 32. And so you can see how far behind number 2 is. But agriculture is still important to the state of Tennessee, whether you're involved directly in row crop or ranching. And so our motto at the university is we believe that the research that we do positively impacts every single Tennessean every single day, whether you're involved directly or not.
We've got to get into the subject of when this I don't know how else to say it, but all the farmers in the world come to Milan. Now that we know that's not true, but we feel like it is because did we have last year?
Oh, we have it every other year. So our last one was in 24.
So we're coming back here in 26, mm-hmm. and maybe we can do it every year. But right now, this is the 34th Milan no-till crop production field day. This is where farmers come to meet, to greet, to cry, to cut up, to tell stories, talk about everything. And it's perhaps the best thing in the state of Tennessee where farmers can come and listen and talk and learn. You will not go home without learning something at the no-till crop production day on July the 23rd. Begins at 8 o'clock, ends at 1 o'clock. So you want to be there at 7 o'clock. Okay, farmers? Okay, you know that.
That's right. Yeah. This event started, as I said earlier, Mr. Tom McCutcheon felt like we needed a way to get the word out and educate people, just like you've mentioned. And so the first event was held in 1981. It was actually at a different location on our center in the South Track Bottom, and the attendance was great. That first year, we had close to 2,000 people show up.
And how do you put 2,000 people there?
That's the trick every year, is to figure out how to logistically get that many people. We've gone as high as 11,000 in attendance back in the 90s. You mentioned the meet and greet. In 2020, when we had COVID, we had to do a virtual field day. So everything was online and everything was locked down. And
yeah.
One of the things that one of the producers said, you know what I miss? I enjoyed the program. It was really good. It was really educational. But the main thing I missed was being able to get to meet with my buddies. Mm-hmm. I missed seeing the people. And so we brought that back. And you've mentioned other countries. Over the years, we've had visitors from other countries, Brazil, Canada, Argentina. So Australia was, I think, the furthest country. We've represented, at the height, we had about 80 of our 95 counties in the state to show up. Sometimes 20, 30 states from across the United States show up. So there are people from all walks of life.
I'm going to run this a little faster because I want to give you as much time as we have. The tours that will take place include, and these are no-till corn production, no-till cotton production, no-till soybean production, Endangered Species Act. That's very, very important. Changes to pesticide labels, no-till weed management, adopting a lot of stuff, including the extraction of method for phosphorus and potassium fertilizer. We're talking about everything you can possibly think about. Irrigation, drought management. What are you doing there? Precision ag, canola production in Tennessee now. That's a big deal going on. Disease and management, and growing your own legacy, strategies for planned giving. So granddaddy decides he wants to do something with the field or the land or the 1,000 acres that he has, and this is part of it. There's so many things that you can do and you won't be able to do it all because there's no way. Pick out what you want to go to and be ready to go on a tour.
Exactly right. We've got 13 different tours that day that range all those topics you talked about.
And 40 talks?
40 different talks within those tours. And so and those experts will be around all day when they're not giving a talk for you to personally go up and ask a specific question about your specific field of operation, whatever that may be. And we are including a tour this year on succession planning. I know people don't like to talk about that, but you're right. What do we do when we get a little older? How are we going to move to the next generation? What does that look like? What does estate planning look like? What am I going to, I don't have any heirs. What am I going to do with that? And so we've got people coming in that are going to talk specifically about that. One thing that we haven't covered is the new things that we're doing at the Milan No-Till Field Day this year. We're bringing back some traditional skills. We'll have, I mentioned Dr. Bob Hathcock with beekeeping. We're going to show you how we gin cotton, how we grist corn to make cornmeal. So that's in our traditional skills area. We're also having an antique tractor show and parade. And so for those, we've got two different antique tractor clubs that are coming, the Shade Tree Antique Tractor Club and the West Tennessee Antique Engine and Tractor Club are coming. And then there are some individuals coming bringing tractors at 12 o'clock. They're going to have a parade. And then at 12:30, we're going to actually have a live demonstration with those drones that we talked about. We're actually going to spray, and then we're going to bring an ag plane in and demonstrate that there is room for both. It's not an either or. We've got room for both because there's advantages to either one. So our tours are full. The Ag Museum will be open all day long for your visit. If you're one of the first 250 that show up that morning and register on site, we're going to celebrate America's 250th birthday by giving you a free barbecue lunch from Latham's Meat Company. And so all you got to do is show up and register. You'll get a ticket to show them at the food shed this year. Our location is at the Research Center there at Milan. But if you've come in the past, you will not see the big tents in the lawn in front of the office. We're moving to our shed area. So everything will be under shed, more of a permanent structure instead of a tent. but there'll still be plenty of things to see and plenty of things to do.
My guess is you'll be with several vendors that'll be coming.
Absolutely. We've got, right now, education and commercial vendors. We've got over 54 vendors that are coming. Some will be inside one of our vendor sheds. There'll be booths inside. You can visit with BASF and DeKalb and Beck Seed Corn, or you can go outside and visit with Tennessee Tractor or H&R AgriPower or the multiple vendors that we have coming that particular day. We also have an overview tour of the rest of the center that you can take. It's a small covered wagon. It takes about 20 minutes, and you'll learn a little more specifically about what we do on a day-to-day basis when we're not having a Milan no-till crop production field day.
Do you have to register? Do you have to go do something? Or
not
just
online. You just show up and register. We'll have a registration tent right behind our no-till field day parking lot. And if you show up, just like kind of pull it into a Walmart parking lot, you'll see the lines, except our lines are not painted. They're no-till soybeans.
Let me give you the opportunity to tell them where is going to be Milan no-till crop production. What highway is it on when they're coming in? They haven't been there before. These are Kentucky people, or maybe Mississippi people, or Arkansas, and so forth.
So the specific address is 3A Ledbetter Gate Road, Milan, Tennessee, 38358. It's on Highway 7079 coming out of Milan. If you come to town, we've only got two real big red lights. You take a left if you're coming from the Martin area. You take a right if you're coming from Jackson. You'll come down Highway 79 past the high school, and then the next gate on the right is the Ledbetter Gate Road. You'll see our signs as you come into town.
This is a great thing. I've been there. I understand what goes on. It changes. Things are added. Some of them have been subtracted because of where we are in our agriculture world. And there's so much going on today that you just got to go and enjoy the 34th No-Till Crop Production Field Day in Milan, Tennessee. Try to make that. You get the last word, sir.
If you need to know some more information, you can visit our website at milannotill.tennessee.edu, and you can find all the latest information, or check out our Facebook page, Ag Research and Education Center at Milan. We love long titles.
Jason Williams has been our guest today. I want to tell you how much I really appreciated the things that you've shared. So I felt like I was in a classroom here today, and I wanted to be with you because this is really good stuff today. And I mentioned to a couple of other people, the question to ask me, all of the ag people are probably going to be there, whether it be our Commissioner of Agriculture or maybe somebody from Knoxville that will be coming down. So,
yes, I've talked to Andy Holt a couple weeks ago, and the commissioner's planning on being there. For those that may know Keith Carver, Dr. Keith Carver will be there at Milan attending, as well as the former director, Dr. Blake Brown, our dean, Hongwei Shin. And there'll be a host of other people to come and visit with that particular day. Paul, just let me say this, too, from the Milan Research Center and from the university. We appreciate you guys and all you do in the community with all of your radio stations. And all you do help us get the word out to our producers and our constituents. For we work for the people. And if I could say one thing further, we don't sell anything at the Research Center. We have unbiased, scientifically proven information. And unfortunately, a lot of people get their information off social media that's not been researched or founded. When you get a piece of information that comes from our field day or one of our speakers at our program, you can rest assured that we've looked at it for a number of years and with repetition to say that's exactly how it is.
That's our program today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, Thursday, July 23, 2026, Field Day. That is the Milan No-Till Crop Production Field Day, Milan, Tennessee. Paul Tinkle, pre-recorded. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.